I'm just going to do an intro to Blendshapes and then how you can use it to do a facial rig. Pretty basic stuff, so it might be a review for some of you. Just let me know if you need me to speak up. Alright, so to create a Blendshape is pretty easy. First we're just going to create a cube, and I'm going to give it a couple of divisions. And I'm going to freeze transformations and delete history. You don't want to create a blend shape with a model that isn't finished. You can't add edge loops or vertices. You can't add anything. You want it to be UV'd before because the order of the vertices matter. It'll mess up if, if you do it afterwards. So what we're going to do is just duplicate our mesh. We're going to move it over. It's kind of a good idea to keep a constant translation so you can kind of remember at what point each one is at. And we'll go into our rigging menu. And you're going to click what you want to be the target, and you're going to click the original mesh. In the rigging menu, you go to Deform, Blend Shape, click, and now it's a blend shape. So what you can do is you can go into component mode. We'll just use vertex. And move these. And it's not doing anything here yet because when you create a blend shape, you actually have to go into the inputs. And here, it's called brow blend because I haven't changed the default of what I have. But you'll change this to 1, and now it follows the blend shape that you made. And the envelope or the target is what you can use. You can keyframe this, and that way you can like blend things in and out and have an in-between. Let's see. I'm going to undo that. And what you can also do is have multiple targets. We're going to make this 4. Keep it consistent. You want to select all the targets first, and then lastly, the original mesh. And again, you'll just go to Deform, Blend Shape, and we're just going to call this Demo. Apply. And again, we'll go into the envelope, and we'll, well, we won't do that yet. We'll alter each one in component mode. So let's say we want this one to be that. Vertex. That to be there. And on the original input, here you can see P3 has the influence, so it's following that one. But if you want the other one to have it also, you can kind of blend that and have both at the same time. And that's how you can kind of create different shapes with multiple targets. Let's see. I'm going to undo that. That I'm changing? These? Alright, so each one goes from 0 to 1, and that's just filtering in how much the original mesh is going to follow along the blend shape. It's just 0 to 1, so you can just kind of scroll through from 0, so it has no influence, to 1 where it has complete influence. Sorry. So to find these numbers, click on the original mesh, go under Input, and then Blend Demo, where I named the blend shape. Click on there, and then it'll come up with the envelope and then the 2 targets. And the targets are telling you how much each one's influencing right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, there's also a blend shape window, which you might want to...
I'm going to go into
Yeah,
that.
okay. There's a blend shape window which will be shown later on that you can also find all this stuff as well.
Yeah. I guess we can do that quickly. So to find the shape editor, there's 2 ways you can do it. You can either click on, if you're in the sculpting menu up here, You can click on the shape editor, which I think is this one. Yes, okay. So that's one way to bring it up. There's our blend shape. Here are our two targets. Right now this is at full, so it's following p cube 3. This is at 0, but you can have both at the same time. And then you can turn all of the blend shapes off if you want to have no influence. You can also go to Windows, Animation Editors, and then Shape Editor. So there's the two ways you can open them up. I think what we'll do is there. And what I'm going to show you is that each vertice has a number and it's in a specific order. Let's see, display, polygon, component IDs, vertices. And here you can see that 12 is pulled out because it's following each blend shape. And this is why you can't alter a blend shape after you create it. It won't be able to follow along the original. So if I, say, added a edge loop here, let's see. Insert edge loop. So we added an edge loop, but the original doesn't have that, so it doesn't have those vertices, it doesn't know to follow that. We can select like the faces. Sorry. Still in that mode. So it will influence it, but if we try to influence just half of it, it's not going to follow the same way because the vertices, it doesn't have that. Does everyone know how every object has two different nodes when you create it? A transform node and a shape node? The blend shape is using the shape node, and that's why if you want, you can move this blend shape anywhere, and it doesn't matter because it's in the shape node's what's affecting the original shape. But if you freeze transformations on this, let me show you what happens. Let's see what happened if we go into the inputs and filter that in and out. You'll see the original is moving to where the blend shape is because it thinks that's 0, it thinks that's where it's supposed to be. So when you make a blend shape, you never want to freeze its transformations. It's safer to like make the blend shape and then kind of lock all of them for the transform node. Yes.
If you have accidentally frozen the transformations, is there
Yes.
a way to go back?
Let's test it out. If you remember, we made sure to move this 2 over and this one 4 over. So let's try this. Let's see, unlock selected. Let's freeze its transformations. All right, so right now it has full influence, it's moving over. But let's turn off the influence for the cube 1. We know this is supposed to be 4 units over. So if we move it over 4 units from where it is now, even though you froze the transformations, let's see if it still moves. Yeah, it still moves. I don't think there's a way to undo that, is there? Yeah. Save. Don't freeze the transformations. Let's see. Showed you how to open that. Even if you mirror an object, let's get rid of all this. Well, let me show you, if you added something to the blend shape before you, what's going to be the blend shape before you make it a blend shape, you should get an error because it says that there's the wrong number of vertices for each one. Alright, so let's try and make this a blend shape. Okay, so you get an error, no deformable object selected. So that's why it has to be the exact same. Even if we like make it the same afterwards, delete, and if we mirror it over, oh, no, it'll work. Sorry, I'm doing something wrong. Basically, if you mirror it over, it still won't work. It'll be confused.
Is it because the numbers?
The vertices will be reordered in the wrong order, so then it'll kind of explode on you. I'll show you my very first face rig, so it's a little messy, but I'll show you what I used to make the different face shapes. And actually, I'm going to tell you about the 7 or 8 different shapes that you can use for a face rig. These are like the basic shapes you'll need to do anything with. I have the book called Stop Staring. If anyone wants to look at it, I have like it marked if you guys want to pass it around. I have the different mouth shapes marked and the different brow shapes marked. They have it at the library, so you can rent it out if you want. All right. So as you can see, there's a lot of different blend shapes, and they're all moved over, and I have them ordered in a certain way. We were taught to have a bridge blend, which is an exact duplicate of your original mesh, and you don't do anything to it. Everything funnels through that, so you always have like a safe shape to go back to that's default. Because if anything's a little bit off, your blend shape might offset your original shape.
Plus, when you're first doing like your first blend shape, the like original one that you can connect it to, you have to go into the envelope and turn it from 1 to 0, so that like no like joints or like connections are on it. It's just like a regular piece of geometry. So if you have that kind of like one that you connect everything to, you don't have to keep turning on your normal one from 0 to 1 to 0 to 1. You just can make other blend shapes using that one.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And I'll show them about that
Yeah.
too. But here we can go down. I have I tried some different techniques, so I ended up not doing brows with blend shapes, but I like made them anyway. But here I have, this is the mouth blend shape, and there's nothing on this, it's just to filter through all these. So the first one would be the smile, the wide. The second one is the narrow, or ooh. Third is upper lip up. This might be easier if I, so you can see it's like pointed up. Then upper lip in. Lower lip down. And lower lip in. And then we also have the frown. And then the sneer, which I didn't make, but that's another shape you can make. And how I have this one is that it's all just on attributes. Liz is going to show you in the next session how to put them on sliders or pickers to make it more intuitive for the animator. Since this is my first one, I just did sliders. So here you can see I made a control, and there's an attribute smile, and it filters in the smile. And there's one for each side. So the animator has more control. So that's kind of how you'd break down different shapes for the smile, and then the brows or cheek puff or anything. You could do an eye correct also. I'm going to kind of go into what Liz was talking about, where you run into trouble if you've already skinned the original mesh and then you make a blend shape. All right, so here, this is just a cube and there's some joints and we're going to make a blend shape. Sorry. Let's do something so it shows. Let's turn on the target. Good. Now let's skin the joints to the geo. Well, actually, wait. Let's turn that off. I think I have this constrained. Okay. Alright, so this works because it was done in a certain order with the skin cluster and the bind. If you have some weird deformation going on, typically the skin cluster has to be before or after? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to show you what happens if it's in the wrong order, how you make it, which is fine because you can change it, but just be aware if something's not working, might be the problem. If we move this below, you see what happens? It moves back when you turn on this, and that's just because the skin cluster has to be above any blend shapes. So to fix that, right click the mesh, go down to inputs. Oh, sorry. Inputs, go to all inputs, and then the menu will come up. And then middle mouse button, click and drag the blend shapes below the skin cluster, and then your blend shape will work fine. It'll fall along the joints, and you're good. I'll show you how to add an attribute so you can filter in the blend shape just in general. I'm going to turn this off for a second. We'll click the control we want the attribute on, edit, add attribute. Let's just call it, it's a form. Minimum, we'll just do 0, maximum 10. Default 0, these are just arbitrary numbers. And then we're going to do set driven keys. So click on the control, go to, control, the attribute, edit, set driven keys. Load driver so that the control's on the top part. And then the easiest way I've found to select the shape node, because we need the shape node to filter in the blend shape, is to go to Windows, Animation Editors, Shape Editor, and then to right click the blend shape, and then it's not selecting it. Do you guys know? Usually it says it selects it. I was trying to select the shape node. View node editor? Okay. Load driven. Do you know Devin?
You just, when I'm trying to get a shape node, I usually either, like just select it and pick off down,
Okay.
or, you can go in the outliner to display, shapes.
You're right. Okay. Shapes. Okay. Okay. Display shapes. Load driven. Devin.
Wait.
Where is it? I'm just trying to get the blend shape.
The blend shape node, don't you just have to select the regular, like,
This worked this way. Okay. Okay. Envelope?
Oh no, I want to be envelope.
Hmm?
It's like its own node, like a parent constraint. So yeah, you can.
Okay, okay. Sorry about that, guys. So now we have the blend shape and the envelope. And what we want to do is keyframe the envelope. So what we're going to do is keep that on 0, go to the NURBS curve, click on deform, and key it, because we want it off when it's on 0. Click on the NURB circle, go up to 10. Go back to the blend shape. And then click on the envelope. Oh, sorry, I clicked on the wrong one. Okay. Sorry, let me redo that. Okay, there we go. So we have it so that the blend shape doesn't show at 0 and does show at 10. Let me. Does that make sense to everyone? Everyone follow? Okay. Let's go into the face shapes we can do. Alright, so that was showing you how you can duplicate the mesh, bring it over, and use that as a blend shape. You actually don't have to duplicate it. You could just use, you can make a blend shape by clicking on the original mesh and using targets, which is what I'm going to show you how to do this. So we're going to click on the original mesh, deform, blend shape, and let's just call this expressions. Apply. And now we're going to go to the shape editor. And there we have our blend shape, but there's no targets to deform yet. So what you'll do is you'll click on the blend shape and you'll click add target. And you see it says edit, and we have the new target here, and we can rename it. And let's call it left smile for the left side. There's different ways to shape your blend shape, and now you're basically modeling, so you can use component mode or you can use the sculpting tools. While you're sculpting, you want to make sure that edit is on, and then when you're done, make sure edit's off. That can set you off. So let's show you some stuff in the component mode first. So usually I'll use vertices, shift period to expand, and then shift minus to contract. Pressing B, you enter soft select mode. If we double click the tool, you can adjust the soft selection, but you can also press B or hold B and drag to adjust your size of the brush. And you can also if you wanted, we could use symmetry, but we're not going to, and I'll show you later why. But this is just one way to move things around to the shape that you want. You can also, this would be more for like an eyelid, but let's say you want to adjust the pivot point of where you're working from and you want it to be further back as if it's rolling over an eye, you can select the vertices you want, press D, and move it back and adjust like where the pivot is while you're rotating it. And that way you can get kind of a better shape for what you're looking for. Let's go to the sculpting tool. So sculpting's right up here. And here's all the different tools you can use. I mainly use grab, which does what it says. You'll have to click the mesh that you're deforming, and then it'll just move it however you want. Relax is a good tool. I use that sometimes. There's pinch, there's the default. Freeze is kind of helpful. It'll make sure that parts of what you're selecting won't be affected. It's not showing up for some reason. Liz, do you know this? Okay. It should be turning blue, but it's not.
Go under display.
Display?
On the tool settings.
Display.
Color.
Where? Oh.
Color. Changing color.
Okay. I'll look into that for you guys, but typically what that should do is freeze parts so you don't have to affect them and you don't have to worry about accidentally going over too far. So let's do a quick smile. This won't be perfect, but you'll get the basic idea. Well, now this is
All the
being...
tools will stop working.
None of the tools are working. Okay. Okay. Let me reopen it and try this again.
Wait, are the eyebrows selected, not the face?
They're connected to something, so they're purple.
Yeah. So pretty much the eyebrows are a separate blend shape from the rest of like, the actual face geo. So anything that's purple shows that like it's connected to the blend shapes.
I'm gonna open this in 2018. I was using 17 so we could use the slider, but 18 might work a little better.
Yeah.
They are? Okay.
My 2018 has been kind
Okay.
of funky.
We're gonna enter 2018. Just remind me, do not use the slider because it'll crash Maya.
Yeah.
Anyone have any questions? Is everything making sense so far? Yeah.
We do also have on the YouTube channel, we have playlists of other tutorials on facial rigging. So if you want to have like a more in-depth one, it's on there. So definitely look at that. And again, this video will be uploaded sometime this week. So if you want to like check back into it, you definitely can.
Okay. Alright, so I'm going to make a blend shape again quick. Did it work? Oh, I think I made two. Yeah, okay. Okay. All right, add target. We'll use the grab tool. How big is my brush right now? Okay. All right. This won't be the most beautiful smile, but we'll get it kind of working. Also, in your brush setup, you can press twist, and that will help you twist things. That's kind of helpful sometimes to be able to twist the geo whatever way you want. All right. So we've got this left side, and now we're gonna unclick edit because we're done. You can right click and then press mirror target, and it'll add it to the other side. The only problem with this is now the animator has to use both sides. They don't have any control over the left or right. So what's better is to right click it, right click, press duplicate target, which will intensify it, and it looks weird, but it's okay. It's okay. We're gonna change the name to the right, and then we're gonna right click it again and press flip target. And now we have both sides. To create an in-between, right now it looks weird because the middle is not being affected, so when you turn it on and off, it looks a little weird. But if you click both and right click, you can press add a combination target. And now it's on edit automatically once you press it. And you can go in, and this time we do want symmetry. So we'll press Object X. And we'll kind of turn off twist. And kind of flatten out the lips as they stretch over the teeth. And of course, the more time you spend, the better it's gonna look, but just show you for demo purposes. Relax tool. Take the edit off, and now that will filter in as you do both, or as you do the left and right, which looks weird because we have a bump, but that's basically how you'd have a combination target. You can also select all of them and then press this folder, and that will group all of them together, and that helps keeping all of your blend shapes organized. I'll show you my other file because that has a lot more blend shapes to look at. So here you can see the shape editor has the bridge blend where all the blend shapes are going through. Here we have these are sort of corrective blend shapes. Her eyes are huge, and what you'll notice is even if you use joints to do the eyelids, it'll follow along the circle, so that's good, but sometimes the eyes are too big and like the corneas will phase through, or the eyes will phase through your eyelids. So you need to do a corrective blend shape so that when you have the blink, it'll be connected to this corrective blend shape that'll kind of puff the eye out so it's not phasing through each other. We also have the brows blend shapes, and then all the mouth blend shapes. And I think that's about it for what I have to show you. I will say this technique of having them kind of separate I found helpful because if you have the joints already connected, you can actually open her mouth and see, you can create another camera and have two panels so that we have, let's see, perspective and then a new perspective. So here you can see what the mouth shapes look like while it's open, while you're sculpting on the blend shape, and making sure that, like, I think the most difficult one is the narrow, to make sure that the narrow looks good when the mouth's open and closed. You can't forget the inside of the mouth or the inside of the eyelids if you're using blend shapes for that. You will notice it when you open or close the mouth. they might not look as good as they do the way you sculpted it at first glance. So this is the way I thought was kind of easier to see.
I have a question.
Yes.
So when you're using this method of having multiple faces,
Yes.
how does having multiple blend shapes
Work?
or like one per each face, how can you apply that to one of them? Is that what that one on the right is for?
Yes, so this one over here, if we go into the mouth blend shapes, here you can see each target. Remember when we selected like the 2 boxes and then the first, like the last box, and it had the 2 boxes there? These are all the different mouth shapes that way within here. So I selected each one of these, this one last, and created the blend shape. So here are all the targets for this blend shape, and it's just the mouth. What I think I did, I might have, you can actually paint the influence of a blend shape, and I think what I did was painted out any influence besides the mouth to make sure if I accidentally like moved the ear over or anything like that, that it's only taking this area from this blend shape into the final. That's kind of like an extra safety thing because it's easy to accidentally mess up and move something you didn't want to move. Does that make sense? Okay. And then we have, so this is kind of like the corrective ones, and all of these in this line are filtering into the bridge. So this one has blend shapes that are, it has the mouth blends, which is this one. It has like the brow one, which is that one, all filtered to this. And then this one is getting all the influence from that.
One of the reasons why we were taught to do it this way is to make the file size smaller, because there are some rigs out there that have like over 180 blend shapes just for the face, and you can even have like even more than that.
Yeah.
And doing it in this method will keep the file size much smaller.
And as a good reminder, when you duplicate it, just put a Lambert or something like really simple onto the new one. Like you don't need it to be as fancy as the other one. That'll make the file size bigger. You don't need it on smooth unless like you're kind of looking at it to sculpt it. Like you can leave it on not smooth and that'll keep the file size down. I can't think of anything else.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Rachel.
Yeah.